Hey, YouTube, welcome back. My name is Dan. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about something that I've been seeing. It's about people think they can live off their side hustles. They want to quit their job. They say, "Whoa, man, if I just had enough money from my side hustle, that I could quit my job or something like that." And I think that they envision that immediately as they start making any kind of money from a side hustle, that that they're going to be able to fund their lifestyle. And it's unrealistic, for a lot of reasons. uh, for one thing, most side hustles or an actual business, initially it's very small, and maybe you just have a couple of customers, or uh, you know a contract or two, something like that. It's very small and doesn't produce much income, and it's not going to be enough to sustain your lifestyle. So stop dreaming, okay? And I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, everybody's got their dreams, okay? Everybody does, myself included. But it's just unrealistic, they're not really thinking, okay? And what I'm getting at is this, okay? Well, if you got a job, if you got a W-2 job, and as soon as you get paid, immediately you spend the money, then the problem is not really the job, it's you, you know? You got a spending problem, okay? And if you got a job, and maybe you did good on it, you had your annual evaluation or however they do it, and they tell you that they're going to give you a little bit of a raise, and then the first thing you do is run out and get more expensive stuff. Well, you're spending all your money. Maybe it's just a maturity thing. Maybe you don't have the maturity or the self-control to not spend. Some people are better at that than others. Some people, I think, are natural born savers, and they, comes easy to them, I guess, just to hold what they got. But I think some of those people, though, when they should spend or when they should be generous, they withhold their hand, which is another kind of problem. But my point is this, okay? If you have a side hustle and you spend all your side hustle money in one way or another, and I'm talking about paying your bills, uh, you know, going out to eat, I mean, any number of different things. The point is that you're not putting those dollars to use in a way that is going to benefit you long term. And you're living the equivalent of like a paycheck to paycheck person. Okay, so first of all, stop dreaming. Okay, stop thinking that your whatever idea that you have, it may be a good idea. I'm not trying to make fun of you. You know, you may start a YouTube channel like I'm doing here. You can try that. Uh, it may get monetized. Who knows? People do. But if you get if you get money from your side hustle, don't spend it. First of all, stop spending. Stop spending all your money. Okay. Second, live below your means. Whatever it is that you got to do to get to that, get to that. Okay. So that whatever extra money comes in from a bonus, from a side hustle, from your own business, from rental property, from any other income that you get uh, is literally that. It's extra income. Okay, it's not something that you have to have because you ran out and bought a bigger car or a bigger house or something like that, and put yourself in a position where you have no choice but to work like that. You've really signed yourself up for slavery, in my opinion. Okay, so don't do that. So instead, live below your means and then try to make that extra money. Pressure wash, pressure wash. Do YouTube. Try rental real estate. Learn about stuff. Different ways of making money. You know, and really, probably the more passive that you can find it or do it, the better. Uh, Now, a case in point, and this may seem unrelated, but a case in point is writing a book. And I know you've probably seen lots of stuff on the internet about writing a book, and you can be a bestseller. Well, 99 times out of 100, that's not true. Okay, now you can do it and try, and hats off to you if you do. I think it's probably worthwhile, if nothing else, just for the self development. But much like a building, okay, it's a construction project, or YouTube videos. It's a construction project. Initially, it's going to take time. It's going to, you're going to write the book. You're going to lay out all the chapters. You're going to, all the stuff that it takes that a book would have. You do all that. Well, it's going to take time, but you do have time. Okay. Uh, but once you get it written, if it does happen to get published and somebody buys it, you just made money. And guess what? The book does not expire. It doesn't go bad like milk or something like that. Same thing with YouTube videos. It's a construction process. Uh, Now, if you got a YouTube channel and you have some kind of a following or a number of subscribers, after the construction, I guess there is maintenance on that. And they'll want to see your content on a cyclical basis of some kind. However you're doing that, I guess it would be the relationship between you, the creator, and the subscribers, and what they're hoping to see or would click on or something. But once you get those videos made, they're there. They're evergreen. They call that. Okay. You don't have to go in and fix anything unless you just want to. There's editing and stuff you can do. I'm not editing anything. I'm not really a technology person. I don't know. Just try to keep things simple. But I went to the bank. I went to the bank 2 days ago to deposit some money, and when I turned into the parking lot of the bank, there was a work truck that was in my way, and it was dirty, and it had a trailer hooked to the back of it. And on the trailer, there was like a bunch of random stuff. There was like lumber, uh, yard tools, like a bunch of stuff that didn't make any sense. But whoever was using that thing, man, they were doing some work, with that truck and trailer. Okay. And it was kind of in my way when I turned in. And so it's kind of tight coming into the parking lot. I parked the vehicle and went inside. And there's one sole customer there, other than me. And it was a man that he had to have been over 70 years old. Okay. And he was all in tight with the teller that was close to me, not the one I was at, but you know the next one over. But the teller I went to greeted me, and she's seen me a lot of times, you know. And so we were just kind of chit chatting. And this man at the next teller over, he announced and he bragged and boasted. He said, somebody said he was looking good or something like that. Somebody else came in behind him. That's what it was. But anyway, he bragged. He said he works 90 hours a week. This is what he said, 90 hours a week. And the man that was waiting for his turn behind him, I think he kind of scoffed at the idea. You know, I guess, I don't know, he thought maybe his age that wasn't possible or something like that. And then he went on and he further said that he used to work 100 hours, but his wife got on to him, and so he cut it back to 90. And I told the teller, you know, I told the teller, you know, that I don't know what that guy's doing, but I want to work less and get paid more. I think that's what everybody wants. If you're in a position that you're 75 years old and you're working like a, you know, 20 something year old guy, injuries don't heal as fast as they did when you were young. They just don't. And you can think that's macho or something like that, but you're taking on risk that you shouldn't. Now, that guy, I don't know what his home life is or his family situation, but you know, to me, he ought to be, his grandchildren should be, you know, he should be spending time with them and, you know, family time. You're working that much in a week. You ain't never seeing anybody. He talked about his wife. If she loves him, she doesn't ever see him. That's, that's not good. But anyway, so stop spending your side hustle money. Stop trying to live off of it. Don't be ridiculous. Okay? If you got some extra income coming in, that's good. That's good, but don't waste it and don't spend it either on a bill or a meal or anything else. If, you know, generally speaking. So what to do with it? Well, start buying income producing assets. And what I mean by that is uh, you could buy, like I've mentioned in other videos, you could buy U.S. Treasuries, which have got a yield over 4%, uh, and just lock that money into that and get the revenue from that. Okay, you still got your money, and you're getting interest off that. And depending on the term that you chose when you purchased, you can do that for free. You can set up an account with Treasury Direct and buy U.S. Treasuries direct from the government, as long as you're a U.S. citizen and you know your Social Security number. Okay, you can open up the account for free, and you can buy those things in $100 increments. Okay, so if you do that, you're still going to have your money, and you're going to get interest from it as you go along. If you get enough of that, you can use the interest to pay for your meal, or to pay for your car note, or your house note, or any other necessary thing that you've got to pay for, instead of blowing it like some kind of crackhead or something like that. So don't do that. Let it stack up. Buy income producing assets. Uh, Another category that is a good thing to look at is what they call dividend kings. Now, these are stocks or ETFs that they pay a dividend. And you know, if you buy a stock at $10 and you hope that one day it's going to be 100, this is what they call a growth stock. You know, you're hoping one day that in the great by and by that you're going to sell it and make a profit. Okay. And the difference between the basis that you paid for it and what it sells for uh, is going to be the capital gain. Okay. Hopefully, if you had it longer than a year, it'll be long-term capital gains. Okay, those are growth stocks and growth ETFs. Um, but dividend stocks are different. Dividend stocks pay a dividend. If you buy shares of their company or their fund or whatever it is, then every quarter or every month or once a year, most of them are based on a quarter, so it'll be about every 3 months. They have an ex-dividend date, which if you own, let's say, a single share of whatever that is before the ex-dividend date, then when they calculate how much everybody gets per share, they're going to look at your basis that you paid for it and all that, and you're going to get paid. They're going to pay you rent for just owning that share. That's it. Well, within dividend paying stocks and ETFs and funds and stuff like that, there's what they call dividend kings. Dividend kings are uh, dividend paying securities, like I just described, that have been paying without fail dividends and never missed a payment and increased the dividend for at least 50 years. And you can just go on the internet and type in dividend kings, and you'll see lists that come up. And you can just look at the list and pick one. Okay? There ain't nothing wrong with that. Dividend kings. Some of the names maybe you never heard of before. Some of them maybe you have. Exxon, Coca-Cola. There's a tobacco company, Altria. They got a high yield, at least as of late. And then, okay, so those are not, they're not backed by any kind of government like the federal government. And if you're scared of losing your money, you want security and you want to know that your money is safe and all that. And it's not as safe as a U.S. Treasury. That's true. That's true. Now you can open up a brokerage account for free with Schwab or Fidelity or somebody like that, uh, and then link it to a bank account, and you can transfer money and you can start buying stuff. Okay, so if you get your side hustle money, put it in the bank. Okay, in the account that's linked to your brokerage account, and then look and see how much you can put in there, move it over there, and then you can start buying dividend kings. And it's not as safe as the government, but if they've been stable and providing a dividend consistently, never missed one for more than 50 years, that's longer than a lot of folks have been alive. So it's a safe bet and it's a conservative thing to do. It's considered boring to a lot of people because it's not very far out the risk curve. If you're conservative, it's a conservative thing to do. If you don't, if you don't, if you don't mind taking a little bit more risk, you can look at what they call dividend aristocrats, and these are the same kind of thing. They've been providing a dividend, never missed one, and increased it all along the way. But in this case, instead of 50 years, they've been doing it for at least 25 years. Okay. Well, to sum it all up, okay, the thing is, if you're making side hustle money, if you're making YouTube money, okay, if you're got a pressure washing business or you're painting or you fix people's ACs on the side after work, okay, whatever it is that you're doing, stop wasting it. Stop wasting it. Be trustworthy with that stuff and put it to use. Get it to doing something that is productive, okay? Later on, if you got a whole bunch of treasuries stacked up or a whole bunch of dividend kings or any other such thing, let the interest that comes off that stuff pay for the things that you want to do. Let it pay for your vacation. Let it pay for your meals. I mean, do you see successful people working 90 hours a week? No, you do not. It's because they're making productive use of their money. They're not, going from, they got their income tax returns, and for 2 weeks they take everybody they know out to eat and drinks on me and all of that, and then a month later they're wondering if they can pay the rent. Think a little bit. Don't do stuff like that. Okay, you don't want to have your like if it's a cycle or something, you don't want to be like that. You don't want to be feast to famine every month. you know and if you got a spouse, that they don't want that, because it's going to be shocking every time they hear about what happened. Maybe they'll be excited that you made some money, and then disappointed that you wasted it. Just think a little bit. Anyway, do your side hustles. I hope you do them, and I hope you make lots of money. I hope you do well. Whatever your idea is, and people's minds are unlimited, and you can come up with all kinds of ideas of how to make money. And that's what pretty much all successful people have done. They had an idea, and it was just something that people thought it was a crackpot idea, or something that would never amount to anything, but they pursued it. But guess what? They didn't waste their money as they went along. In the case of a business, okay, in the case of a business, this would be the equivalent of, as soon as the money is coming into the business, they're taking member draws off of it. If it's a LLC, they're taking the money straight out of it. Okay, so what happens when the business needs new equipment? What happens when the rental property needs a roof? Okay, or a new AC or something like that? You know, what happens if your pressure washer breaks and the thing was $1,000? Okay, and you spend it all on Cheetos and moon pies, and now you got to buy a new pressure washer. The money ain't there. The money ain't there. So you need to think about future possible expenses for the kind of business or side hustle that you have, and keep a reserve. So, in the unlikely event or the planned event at some point in the future that you need to purchase those things, you can do it with ease and with comfort and with deliberation. You can even shop around and get a good deal on that stuff instead of being panic driven all the time. So don't drive yourself into a panic. Do something smart with your side hustle money. See you next time.